EVA-4 will start out at the joint airlock once again with crew members Mike Fincke and Greg Chamitoff. Mike will have a medium bag that contains the adapter assembly that we will need to install the PDGF on the boom. He will temporarily stow that on the S1 truss. And Greg will work on reconfiguring and retrieving a foot restraint, which is currently on the airlock toolbox. He'll stow that on his body restraint tether and then translate up to the S1 truss. Once he's up there, he will install that foot restraint in the S1 truss. Then he will ingress the foot restraint, and then both crew members will work on their own respective stands, and they'll work with Box, who's inside the station flying the station's robotic arm, which is grappled to the midpoint of the boom. They'll work together to back the boom into place to where the EVA crew members can take control of it. Box will back off the arm, and the two EVA crew members will work together to slowly back the boom into the stands. They will then lock it in place. Mike will start work on the sensor end of the boom. While that work's ongoing, Greg is reconfiguring a foot restraint and working with Box to maneuver the arm back so Greg can install that foot restraint on the arm. Greg will be using the arm as a work platform later in the EVA for the grapple fixture swap. Both crew members will then translate all the way outboard to the P6 truss. Greg will work on setting up the foot restraint for Mike to ingress. Mike will hop in the foot restraint, install a handling aid on the PDGF, and then together they will release the 4 fasteners that are holding the PDGF on the P6 truss. Once released, they will stow the grapple fixture on Mike's body restraint tether, and Greg will retrieve the foot restraint. Both crew members will then start making their way back towards the S1 truss and the boom. Greg will make a quick pit stop where he will drop off that foot restraint on the port seated cart. And then Greg will work with Box to slowly maneuver the arm into position to where Greg can ingress the foot restraint. Greg will then maneuver over to Mike where he will retrieve the PDGF and stow that on his body restraint tether. And then both crew members will translate up to the grapple fixture swap location. They will work on releasing the EFGF, which has 6 bolts. Once they release that, they will need to peel back the EFGF and cut the electrical cable that runs down to those sensors. Mike will stow that in the medium bag. Then they will work on installing the PDGF adapter assembly, or PAA. This has 6 bolts, and then it provides a mounting ring for the PDGF to be installed. They'll then work together to install the PDGF and tighten down the 4 fasteners that hold it in place. And we now have a new grapple fixture on the end of the boom. Greg will then work with Box to maneuver back to his egress position, where he will egress the APFR and then catch a free ride over to the starboard seated cart. Greg will transfer the foot restraint from the arm to that starboard seated cart. Greg then translates to the zenith aft side of S0 where he inspects and cinches a long-duration tie-down tether, which is currently holding down Dexter's old OTP or ORU temp stow platform. Meanwhile, Mike has retrieved that medium bag that contained the EFGF, which was removed from the boom, and he translates down to Endeavour's payload bay. Once he's down there, he opens up the door on Endeavour's port toolbox or tool stowage assembly, and he will transfer the EFGF grapple fixture from his medium bag to this port TSA so it can return home with Endeavour. Once he's complete stowing that grapple fixture in the TSA, he will close the door and tighten the 4 latches. And then both crew members will start making their way out to the port truss. Once out on P3, they will translate along the newly installed Express Logistics Carrier ELC-3, and this is where they will work on releasing the 3 fasteners that held Dexter's spare arm in place for launch. Once the first fastener is released, they will work together to use a 40-inch long pry rod. This was the tool that was specially designed for this task. One crew member will insert this pry load and offload the adjacent fasteners as the other crew member releases those fasteners. Once these fasteners are released, there are 2 clamps that are still holding the spare arm on its stowage location. Once complete with that task, Greg will translate to the opposite side of ELC-3 where he will install a protective cover on the grapple fixture on the high-pressure gas tank. He will also take some photos of a DoD payload, which is in that gold mylar. Both crew members will clean up their work site and translate back to the joint airlock. They will ingress, and we will be closing the hatch for the final time on an EVA conducted by Space Shuttle crew members.